Year-end wrap-up, year-end wrap-up. Let's finish reviewing last year. Year-end wrap-up, year-end wrap-up. Cause a brand new year is here. Cause a brand new year is here.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode of the Exposition Table. I'm your first host, Joe.
And I'm your other host, Dan.
And we are talking about, as Dan has introduced in song, our 2022 wrap-up.
Yeah. Damn it, I should have made it a rap. That would have been better.
There's always next time.
Next year, we'll do a DK rap. I promise. Alrighty. But yeah, so 2022 was a very interesting year for both of us when it came to the media that we consumed and also just how we discussed that media, as evident by the fact that you guys are here listening to us talk about media. It's kind of our thing here.
We started a channel this year.
Yeah.
All for this very purpose.
Yeah, so it definitely affected the way that we consumed our media. So I guess just to kind of get right into it, Joe, what was your kind of goals this year, if you had any? I think that you and I both were a little bit more focused and zoomed in with what kind of content we wanted to consume this year, rather than other years being a little more passive and by, whatever the wind took us to. So what was your kind of goals for the year?
My goals for this year as far as media goes is I wanted to spread my wings a little bit, kind of knock a bunch of stuff that's always been on my to-do list off. I very much dug into a bunch of backlog and stuff I felt like I'd have to do at one point in my life. And as time went on, I became a bit more focused on trying to get a wide variety of quality level. I mean, pretty much the first full year where I've read a decent amount. I mean, not a whole lot. I really tried to diversify my palette, especially since we started a channel at October. So I really got the hankering to try to have more topics to talk about.
Yeah, no, definitely. Makes sense. It's always good to sort of balance out what you're doing with your content. For a while I was doing that. I think we were doing that back in the day, where we would just kind of look at the bad to help appreciate the good. Although before, I think I was a little more entrenched in the bad. It was a good few years where I was mostly consuming crap.
I was also
But...
Oh.
No, you can go.
I was also knocking out a bunch of games that in series that I knew for a long time.
Yeah. For me this year, this is a very interesting year for me. Since this year, for some backstory, I quit my retail job to go work an office job. And due to a very unique circumstance of the supervisor being really chill about stuff and having a lot of the same attention-related quirks that I do, and his supervisor having a very specifically placed desk in a way where they couldn't see me, I was able to basically just stream YouTube videos and Netflix and stuff for the 7 months or so that I was there doing that. From February until November, when I stopped doing that. I was able to consume a lot of media because up until then I was so exhausted and tired from my previous job that I just, first of all, didn't want to do any of that when I got home, and second of all, just didn't, have the motivation or time or anything for it. So in addition to just having a nice solid block of time to consume media, I was able to really knock out some things I just didn't have the time for. So at least in terms of that, this year was really focused in on knocking out some of the big boys that I've been, those always wanted to get tos but never quite had the time to. Was a big focus for a lot of the year. And also with another major theme of the year was really finding content that the whole family can enjoy. For the last couple years or so, me and the missus, we'd been kind of picking and choosing our own media. For a while we were kind of watching stuff together. Then, as your family expands, things kind of shift around, and just now things reached a point where the three of us can all kind of consume media together. So also just finding media that we're all gonna like, that we're all gonna gel with. So there were a couple main focuses. There's also one other big focus on the year, but I will get to that in a little bit. One big thing that really dictated my media for the year, But we'll get to it in time. So how do you want to go? You want to kind of go through the timeline, sort of rough timeline of events? What were you starting your year off sort of doing? Because for me, my year started off very modestly. I wasn't really going big into stuff until I got a little bit further in. But for you, like, what were some of like the big stuff in like the first half of the year for you?
Alright, so first half. I guess the first thing on my, what I did last year actually isn't on my list. Because it was, well, the first thing I did. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel came out, so I tried Yu-Gi-Oh! For the first time in like 15 years. I could not really gel with the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta.
I've heard. It's very weird.
It's very weird. There's just a lot of chain reactions and just kind of prevention. And I don't know, it was a bit too esoteric for me. So I just fell off pretty quickly. Despite, like, initially having quite a fun time with it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, no,
That's all you played for 6 months was Yu-Gi-Oh!
I played Yu-Gi-Oh! For 4 days and then proceeded to do nothing for the next several months. Alright.
Hybrid.
Nah.
Yeah, just knock out a couple. Just kind of go back and forth, talk about a few things.
Okay, so going into 2022, the October, November before, I started reading the Predane Chronicles books, some classic fantasy, which also was quote-unquote adapted to the Black Cauldron by Disney in the mid-'80s. Oh, we'll get to there. But
just do it now. Who fucking cares? Just talk about it now, real quick.
Okay, so
talk about it all.
In general, well, I read the Book of Three, the first book, in 2021. But in general, like, I really like the books, and I think they get really incredible later. Like, to the point where my top-rated thing is actually Book 4, Taran Wanderer. But pretty much, it's a fantasy series based on Welsh mythology, and has a really strong ethos, and you get a really strong sense of character development. And it felt like a big palate cleanser to me as someone who hasn't really, I just started reading again, as I said in the introduction, and I feel very enriched by the experience. Now Taran of Caer Dallben is now one of my more liked protagonists. If I ever do a story protagonist tier list, he'd definitely be up there. I might just do that.
New video idea.
New video ideas on the fly. The machine never stops.
I mean, frankly, a lot of these are probably going to get turned into video ideas. At least some of the things that we're going to talk about. So
all the more reason why Disney's The Black Cauldron now pisses me off. Because not only is it a bad adaptation, it's the only adaptation people really know about.
Yeah, man. It retroactively ruined the franchise.
Yeah, so the Predane Chronicles is now known as, that book series that got adapted to a bad movie. I'm a fan. And the 4th and 5th books, Taran Wanderer and The High King respectively, were kind of a spiritual experience. Like, you really delve into the arcs that the characters go on. You feel the rug swept under you as things take a very sudden dark turn at the last book. I'd highly recommend it to someone who's feeling a little burnt out or just in a need. Like, I listened to this in an audiobook, and if you need a good excuse to strengthen your attention span, I'd definitely give this series a try.
Audible, give us a sponsor.
Indeed. And then, in the middle of that, Elden Ring came out, which was one of my most anticipated games ever, and honestly would be in my S tier, but oh boy, Elden Ring had a very interesting arc for me, where it was one of my favorite games of all time for like the first half, but as time went on, and the weird difficulty spikes and weird balancing came into play, I've actually grown relatively bitter to Elden Ring and cannot get back into it.
You gotta be careful, you're saying bad things about Elden Ring. You saw what happened to King K when he just did a video saying he wasn't in the right state of mind to play Elden Ring. You're out here saying negatives. The pitchforks. They'll come after you, Joe. You gotta be careful.
Or as I like to call it, free engagement.
Nice.
That's a good thing about being obscure. But
And now that we're hitting up some
the open world exploration combined with Soulsborne gameplay feels fantastic, but a lot of the open world charms just kind of grow very stale as you play. A lot of repeat bosses, a lot of the stuff you are going out there exploring winds up feeling really useless once you know how everything works. And the bosses just feel extremely over-designed now. Like, your characters just don't feel fast enough to keep up with some of the endgame bosses like Molly Keth and Radagon. I was having a bad time in the last third of Elden Ring. Like, while I was giving these things numbered scores, it went from like a 10 to like a 5, average to like upper mid by the end of it. And now it's just...
Damn.
Yeah. Like... It was definitely one of those gaming experiences that's going to stick with me for a long time. Like, I just straight up felt betrayed by Elden Ring.
No, definitely. That's never fun. It's never fun when your hype gets crushed by something. Oh man, marketing is a real devil. Which is why I'm now going to steal the spotlight and segue into a couple of my starters for the year. Which, yeah, my early year was pretty, not like heavy into a lot of content, besides one big thing, but I'll get there in a bit. But for some of the smaller things that I wrote down, I didn't start making my media thread until the end of February, so I kind of was playing catch up. For whatever reason, I watched 2 documentary style movies that were both about marketing and manipulating their audiences, so a kind of an odd thread there is gonna continue. So after this being one of my favorite comfort movies to watch, I love... It is so factually inaccurate, but I love the original Super Size Me. So I finally watched Super Size Me 2 because it was free with ads on YouTube. And that's all about how marketing in the industry is a complete hoax. How they say things like organic and natural and all that stuff just to trick you. So he makes a fast food company that's literally just meant to educate people about all the garbage they're eating and figure out how they can exploit the industry. And I found that very fascinating to watch. This one actually had better research than the first one, so I, felt quite engaged by that. Yeah, so fun watch. And then the other thing that I watched, the Boy Band Con, the Lou Pearlman story, it was a YouTube original about Lou Pearlman, the guy who was in charge of many of the big 90s boy bands like Backstreet and NSYNC. And then it talks about his embezzlement scams with airplane companies and all this other stuff. And it's like they lure you in with the hot boy bands, telling you about that. And then it becomes all about how he manipulated the audience, how he put people against each other, fraud. It was crazy. I wasn't expecting my year to be so marketing focused early on. But I think I was just trying to find some light casual stuff that wasn't gonna get like, stuff that I can be kind of in and out with. So, and for whatever reason, I was just in the vibe in the first part of the year to watch tearing down marketing executives. And I have really no good transition to put this anywhere else. So I'm just gonna also mention that horrible segue. That when Bob Saget passed away, I rewatched the roast of him on Comedy Central because that was a very nostalgic watch. And God, that was sad because like almost half of the people on that panel are freaking dead now, and that just made me sad. Norm Macdonald was there, Cloris Leachman. I'm like, oh my God, so many celebrities. Oh, that hurt. It was a great watch, but that hurt. So, yeah, the earlier part of the year was fairly light for me. Kind of just playing a couple games here and there. I have a couple other games that I can mention, but nothing really too serious, at least for the first like quarter of the year through winter. I didn't really have anything major going on besides the one thing, or the other thing. But save those in a bit. But yeah, so for you it was like Elden Ring and a couple, smaller things. It sounds like, and some books.
Yeah.
But for you, what were some? When did you start getting into some of the big things for your year?
All right. Like, I would definitely say that we start getting to the bigger things around spring. I finally played Final Fantasy IV. Like one of the, like, generally considered to be like the first great Final Fantasy game. Just a very important game for the series and RPGs as a whole. And I thought it was pretty good. You definitely kind of see its age. It is definitely a game in 1991. Kind of the first big story-based Final Fantasy game. Yeah, I had a good time with it. Yeah, it's not like a favorite of mine, but I definitely liked it.
Yeah, I heard it's a really good one. I have no opinion on older Final Fantasies. I barely have opinion on new Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
But I heard 4 is a good one.
Yeah, around spring is when I really try to get into some of the older games. Generally firing up the Nintendo Switch Online services just to get into some of the classics. I finally played through Super Mario Brothers, the original, and
Super Mario 1.
Yeah, Super Mario 1, and I had a time with it. It's definitely a game made in 1985, but it was definitely a journey I felt good about taking, even if I didn't have the most fun with it. But I still liked it more than finally playing Kirby Superstar.
Yeah, you were pretty salty about that one.
Kirby Superstar is kind of like a collection, and like almost none of it was like particularly fun or good. Like I really
Kirby Superstar is a weird one. It feels a little unfocused in itself, but I also like it's one of those games that like contextually makes more sense in the time period it came out, of like, in the 90s, the rental age. It's like, yo, I get all these games, cool. But like, yeah, owning it as your own title or just trying to play it to completion now, it kind of doesn't work like that.
And it's a Kirby game, so a lot of people like, gas up pretty much every Kirby game. So I don't know what expectations had going into it, but whatever they were kind of not met.
I've never really bothered with Superstar specifically for that reason. I just felt like the format just didn't lend itself to me personally. It felt like it was just 8 smaller games without a clear focus, which, again, I get why they would do it like that in that time period.
But in the
for me, I just
context of you right here, right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily diss it. I just know I don't want to play it. It doesn't offer me anything.
Yeah. I also played Dreamland 3 in a similar time period. It was fine. Like, it was a very pleasant looking 2D platformer. Unless you're trying to 100% it, you're not getting too much out of it.
Yeah. That's a lot of the early Kirby games are kind of like that.
And, oh yeah. So I played Solomon's Key. I had fun with it for a little bit, and then I stopped having fun. It's a weird...
Solomon's Key, a game that no one under 40 talks about.
It's a 2D platformer puzzle from Tecmo. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about Solomon's Key. Oh, and I also tried to get into Earthbound Beginnings, or Mother 1.
Yeah. I know you're very contentious about the Mother. Look, I get it. We just hate everything here at the Exposition table. We hate every franchise ever. We can't say a single good thing about anything.
I love Mother 3. I mean, alright, let's be fair here. Mother 1 doesn't have a lot of fans. And, it's for a pretty ubiquitous reason. It's a pretty standard, outside of the setting, standard JRPG on the Famicom.
Yeah, man, that game would be like the best game if it was on the Game Boy.
Like, you could probably picture the problems in your head right now.
The fact that Nintendo looks super derpy. He's got that dumb little face.
Like, the combat's weirdly imbalanced. Oh, some of the dungeons are straight up dog water. The last chunk of the game doesn't feel like it's tested.
Fair.
Yeah,
I kind of went through a grab bag of smaller, weirder games myself.
I love the soundtrack though. Like, that's exactly as good as people say it is.
I also was playing a lot of old school style games earlier in the year. A lot of 8-bit style stuff. I blasted through AVGN Adventures for the first time. It was actually pretty fun, honestly. And I started playing 2, but I never finished it back up. For whatever reason, I guess I just got my fill of the first game. I 100%ed the first game, but I didn't go very far into the second game. Then I played Monster Crown, which was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's a Pokemon style GBA or Game Boy Color aesthetic game, and I thought that was cool. It went for like super edgy dialogue to the point where it almost felt like a parody. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I liked it, but I wasn't like super like I could see myself coming back to it, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't as sold as I thought it would be. But I do love the art style of the like the watercolor Kensugi Mori style artwork, so that was pretty cool. And I was playing a lot of Dodgeball Academia, which is like such a perfect game for me. I love Mario Tennis Power Tour on GBA, so having a game like that but with dodgeball, with a meme speak, and it's got that like Craig of the Creek art style, and I thought that was just awesome. I thought that game was really cool.
Oh, good to hear.
Yeah, that Dodgeball Academia is awesome. I really hope they get a new one made for that one. And once again, I have nowhere to put this, but it kind of concludes this chunk of stuff until I pass the baton back to you. So I was also dicking around with Toy Story 3 on the 360 around that time. I love that it is a open world sandbox game, because you're in a fucking sandbox. A literal sandbox. Building toys. I didn't care about the whole building the town, but I did like the sandbox. Exploring around, collecting shit. It was dope. Didn't get that far into it, but that was just another one I was messing around with.
I'm going to take the baton back just for a split second, just because I did want to talk about Monster Crown because I was interested in trying it out. Still kind of am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe one day I'll give Monster Crown a shot.
Yeah, I think it was cool. I think it has some fundamental issues, but I think it's like some of those sprite customizations straight up look unfinished and cursed as hell. But the actual game, I think it's fun. I think it has a good enough combat system to it. It's just a little weird. It's very quirky. It's definitely a first game. But yeah, I would say up until May, which May was a very significant media month for the two of us. It was a very busy month in general, but again, not counting, because I'll get to them later. You know, I had two other major things that I was consuming in the background that we'll get there. So up until before May, I was mostly just finishing up some sitcoms that I was really into. Watched season 3 of Scrubs, then finally, after taking like a 2-year hiatus from Scrubs, watched Fuller House, then watched a good chunk of that, and we were kind of watching that throughout the year, me and the family. My son really enjoys that. Decided to shotgun binge one of my absolute favorites, My Name is Earl, in a month, and still holds up pretty well. Definitely, I could talk forever about that, but I'll just say I was very interested at what parts were not as good, and I was very interested to see what parts were better than I thought. Like, I think I had remembered it being a very specific structure of like what parts were good and what parts were bad, and it wound up being quite different in terms of where the good ended and where the bad started. So, still love it, still absolute favorite. And then I, watched more of I started up a fresh binge of its follow-up show, Raising Hope. I only got about halfway through my binge through. That show kind of loses its steam a little bit quicker. So, that's about it. Mostly just watching, some sitcoms and some other larger shows. And then, is that about it for you up until May, or do you have some other stuff you want to kind of
There's just a
take out
couple
there?
things I think I and we, in the case of one thing, need to knock out right there.
One thing indeed.
Or is it two? No, I think that was after. Anyway, Okay, so around late spring, I was also knocking out the last few Monster Rancher games I never finished, before the new one came out. I went into decent amount of detail in the Monster Rancher tier list, but yeah, I've specifically played through Monster Rancher Advanced 2, Monster Rancher 3, and I finally tried to play through Monster Rancher Evo. In short, Monster Rancher 3 is pretty good. I actually participated in and won a tournament in that game, an online tournament. And that was So I have a pretty memorable time with that game. I've tried to play Monster Rancher 3 on several occasions, never really got to the finish line. And for context, Monster Rancher is a series of simulation, farming / role-playing games. Some of them rank as my favorite games, and a lot of them I found to be pretty good, and a few I don't. Monster Rancher Advanced 2 is quite good, actually. I'd say it's a highlight of my year, but not quite one of the best things I experienced. And Monster Rancher Evo, sucks.
Sucks, but you beat it anyway.
I didn't beat Evo, I dropped that.
But you said you won a tournament for it.
3.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Monster Rancher Evo... It definitely leans on more trying to be a RPG, but has the least comfortable training loop ever, where the training's more hands-off and you have to do mini-game circus performances to actually get the stat bonuses from your training. And it was the follow-up to Monster Rancher 4, which is, by the way, my second favorite game of all time, where in that game you'd run around your ranch to manage your monsters. This time, you have your circus, and you have your town you have to walk to, and it's just lethargic. It is an unpleasant game. That's about as much as I can say about Evo without going in depth with it.
Is Pope.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I wish it was better, A, because I'm a Monster Rancher fan and really wanted it to go in the direction that 4 was taking, but this was the result and it didn't pan out at all. And also, I do like the idea of giving Monster Rancher more writing-based stuff to do, but it just didn't work. Alright, yeah, I think that covers, except for the thing that applies to both of us. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the film.
Oh shit. That's not what I thought we were going to talk about, but alright, we'll go with Sonic 2. Sonic 2. Oh man, was that a good movie?
Yeah.
Oh man, did that make the Sonic boy inside me happy? They call me Sonic.
Yeah, alright, so I was a bit surprised that the first Sonic live-action movie was, fine. Little did I know that the sequel would just straight up be a good movie.
Yeah, bro. They managed to make the Sonic movie where... Oh my gosh. Bro, they managed to make the Sonic movie where the side character's sister's wedding actually was an entertaining moment and not a complete waste of time. Bruh. How'd they do it? Those wizards. Those crazy people.
They wrote Knuckles properly for the first time since 2000.
Dude, I was so happy. This is my favorite version of Knuckles, probably ever. They did him so good.
Yeah.
It was the first good version of Tails in a decade. Just for everybody. This was Sonic 2. Sonic 1, I think, was really kind of the start, the turning point of the franchise kind of going in some positive directions. But Sonic 2 was really kind of the culmination, because after that, everything else Sonic was doing was just going up from there. Not counting the comics, because we don't read the IDW comics, not out of a personal bias, but simply just it hasn't piqued our interest or time. Maybe later, not setting anything up, I'm just saying. Beyond the comics, outside of the rest of the franchise, I feel like Sonic 2 was really the point where the franchise really started going uphill. really picking up steam throughout the rest of 2022.
Yeah.
So good I watched it twice.
Yeah.
Which, for some people that's nothing, but for me, I don't really get a lot of time to watch things twice in 1 year. So,
Alright,
yeah.
so it sounds like you
Sonic
had
2 was busting.
another thing that I just kind of got a different idea.
Bro, I literally said one. How could you not piece it together, bro?
Oh, yes. You
Yeah,
find.
so I started the year off. One of the big things I was like, all right, I got the time. I need to start chipping away at this now. And I only would have started consuming this because of the office job. As I started watching One Piece finally.
You
Now I'm
finally
not gonna
did it.
go and yeah, and I kept it a mystery for like several months. I didn't tell anybody that I was started watching it. I wanted everyone to guess what the hell I was into, and then people guessed it pretty easily. I gave away too many hints, and yeah. So I'm currently at, I think the episode count is around the 340s. I'm at the beginning of Thriller Bark. I'm not gonna go into like a series-wide analysis. Joe has already basically caught up with the manga and everything at this point, so
Yeah.
he's familiar with everything. So it's been interesting for him sort of hearing all my perspective. But basically, I wouldn't be 340 episodes deep into the show if I didn't think it was pretty damn good. There is some shit that is shockingly good.
Yeah.
I did not expect how good some of this stuff was going to be. There is some terrible stuff. Don't get me wrong. Some arcs are fucking awful. But for the most part, it's really good. And I was very happy, and it put me in a sense of motivation. Bro, I was motivated to go to my work so I could watch more One Piece. I was excited to sit down and watch One Piece and blast through so much One Piece. Currently, I'm in a bit of a hiatus on it. Just, kind of comes and goes in waves. I got other stuff I'm watching right now. But luckily, I don't have any worry about running out anytime soon. But yeah.
Yeah. Like, I've read the manga from 2020 to 2021, and now I'm just caught up and just reading it as it comes out. So our perspectives are a little different, not only because I am several times farther in it than Dan is, but also because he's watching the anime and I'm reading the manga.
Yep. I'm consuming the anime, so I'm telling you about filler arcs, and you're like, what the hell are the Ice Hunters? You know?
Yeah.
What's Lost Island or whatever? Who are Eric and Nelson?
Yeah, or like when the anime, due to its many Toei-isms, fumbles a certain adaptation. I'm just confused, like, oh, was the Force of Skypiea that bad? And it's like, nah, it's because Toei messed it up.
Alright, well, I guess while I'm here, I might as well, very quick. First season, fantastic. Love basically everything in it. Alabasta, everything up through Alabasta, like Drum Kingdom and all that stuff. I'm generalizing mostly based on seasons here to get through this quickly. Everything through Alabasta, Drum Kingdom, Little Island Garden, and all that, pretty good. Not a little bit of a step down. And then the next arc. Sorry, it's late. Forgetting. Was it the next arc Skypiea, or was it?
Jaya / Skypiea, yes.
Yeah, Jaya was good, and then Skypiea, freaking awful. I would have stopped watching if I didn't know that the show was gonna, start getting really good after that. Honestly, I was like ready to quit. I couldn't stand Skypiea. In spite of how good the early stuff was, then Long Island's, was a fun breather. Nice break. Then we got Water 7, which was so good. Then we got Enies Lobby, which was really not good. It wasn't terrible, but the anime adaptation, felt... And then everything after has been pretty good again. The post-Water 7, or post-Enies Lobby storyline was pretty decent. And everything kind of between now and then. No, wait, there was another arc. What arc did I just watch?
Post Enies Lobby?
Post Enies Lobby. I get my episode counts wrong. I thought that was the 270s. I feel like I'm missing something here. No, that was 310. What the hell am I talking about? No, sorry. Again, it's late. I'm really trying to generalize here. So, mostly good. Some of this stuff is fantastic, even in spite of some of the really bad arcs. I'm overall like really in love with the cast. I really love, the settings, the characters, all that stuff. It's a really fun world, and I'm really happy to be on this journey, going along. Um, I'm glad the English dub is catching up because I watched the English dub. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I watched the English dub. It is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, One Piece good.
One Piece
good.
is goated.
The One
so
Piece is good.
Yeah. Can we get our ranking much higher?
Alright, so as far as One Piece is for me, obviously since the arc just ended in the manga, I read Wano. I can't say anything about Wano because
Well, I mean, you could say if you like it or not.
I generally really like it. Its ending is a little bit bad.
It is what it is.
But otherwise, I quite like Wano. I liked when Luffy did the thing. Some of my favorite characters got good moments.
Oh yeah, all y'all fuckers, y'all have been spoiling all this One Piece with those damn cock edits. Something about a character later got spoiled for me, and I'm still mad about it. Another thing got spoiled to me. Stop drawing poorly drawn dicks on the One Piece characters during really pivotal moments. Stop it. I'm trying to enjoy this shit like it's brand new. Ruining it.
So yeah, I think that paves the way towards May.
Yeah, so May, I went on vacation with the fam. We went to Florida, had a nice trip. And the reason why that's relevant for this story, besides just maybe I thought you wanted to hear about my life, is that while in the hotel, I got to consume a lot of interesting, very cherry-picked media. And Joe house set for me, so he got to consume both of all media that was in my house, and also got to sort of knock out some things on his bucket list. So if you want to go first with yours, hit up some of those big ones, because I know you got some opinions.
Alright, I got some opinions. Okay, so get the easy ones out of the way. I'll watch Cowboy Bebop, the 1998 anime, not the live action, and Odd Taxi, the 2020 anime. Regardless, it's alright. They're both exactly as good as people say they are. They're freaking amazing. They're like in my second highest spots on my spreadsheet. A lot of, if you've heard people saying that they're good, they're not lying. You should probably watch these shows. You got
the thing everyone said is good. The anime that people who don't watch anime have T-shirts of. The boomer anime is goated.
Yeah. So Space Cowboys and Texas Walruses is the better of the two things about walruses I've seen this year.
The goat.
Yeah. Otherwise, in May, I took the plunge and I watched High Guardian Spice, and I actually kind of like it.
Seems like it's the opposite of Ruby, where Ruby we went in with expectations and then it kind of slowly drifted away, whereas High Guardian you went in with no expectations and it slowly bubbled up a little.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, that show had heart, and I actually kind of like some of the characters, and I think it was an overall pleasant experience. Like, yeah, I have some problems. The pacing's definitely a little barked. It definitely needed, like, a proper first episode. The introduction's a little, definitely feels a bit abridged.
Save it for the 3-hour video essay, Joe.
Hey, this video
I'm sure you're gonna talk about High Guardian Spice this year.
Yeah, I'm going to do a video on why I don't hate it, and I actually like this show.
High Guardian, I think, was a very pivotal moment for you. It's a moment where your horizons grew 3 times that day, where you realized that you could like media that you didn't have to necessarily love. Or, while you already knew that lesson, it was one of those strange moments where the heart spoke more than the mind for you.
Like, it's
You
one of the
seemed perplexed by it. You seemed perplexed that you liked a show that you thought was objectively mid.
yeah, because as Dan could probably tell you, there's a lot of shows that like either he likes or people around him like, or people in general like. Not just shows, but media in general that I just don't like at all. Like I usually like things less than the average. And it felt really weird on the other side of things.
Joe just said he's a hater for life.
I have the tendency to be a bit harsher.
It's so funny because when we were younger, I used to be the cynic and you used to be the more optimistic one when it came to media. And then we just flipped.
We just flipped at some point. And by the end of it, I even got a little sad to see it go. Because the show got fucking put through the ringer by very bad faith criticism.
The American animation in the 2010s or 2020s, of course, it's gonna get abruptly cut short.
Yeah. Alongside those, I finally played The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Kind of a microcosm of Elden Ring, where I really liked the first half, and then a few things hit me that I have a hard time forgiving.
I was about to say he fucking hates A Link to the Past.
I don't quote unquote hate it. I hate parts of it definitely.
You're such a hater.
When I got to a boss that basically soft locked me because I didn't get the half cost magic upgrade or the goddamn ice rod.
The ice rod's a pain in the ass.
I got pissed. How was I supposed to know that the boss was invincible unless I had the ice rod?
Should have bought Nintendo Power.
God, like I still think this game's pretty good. I have it in the middle of my ranking, like almost the exact middle. But like, god damn, this game did a few things that pissed me off, which annoys me because I love the way the game feels, I like how it looks, I like how it sounds. It really set the standard for what Zelda would be from now on. I should love this game, and then it just pissed me off so hard near the end.
Bro, you're not even gonna need to do it on tier list videos at this point. You're gonna extinguish the tank in here.
Alright, that's about...
Save some fire for the cookout, Joe.
Whew.
We still got plenty of stuff to talk about to hate. We've got a long year, Joe.
Right.
A lot of things to be, and you didn't even get to the next thing you're gonna complain about hating, which is
I played Sonic Heroes.
That wasn't even the one I thought you were gonna say. But go on. How did you do it twice with Sonic? You said the thing I didn't think you were gonna say with Sonic twice. Go on.
I played Sonic Hero. Like, alright, we kind of talked about this in the Sonic tier list video, but to put it short, I think Sonic Heroes is pretty easily below average for me. I don't want to say I hate Sonic Heroes, but it's definitely subpar as far as I'm concerned. Like, I've picked up Sonic Heroes on dozens of occasions, but I never completed a single story until this May.
You've never? Like your whole life?
Never. I always dropped it.
What?
I've always...
You never finished Sonic Heroes? I've done that like 2 or 3 times. Usually I just gone through a whole playthrough. As I'm older, I only have time to like maybe play through one campaign, in a sitting, but like Jesus Christ.
I always lose interest around Mystic Mansion. And now that I push through it, I see why. I hate that. I hate those levels.
Bro, I feel like this is a Family Guy, The Godfather. How can you say you don't like it if you haven't even given it a chance? I've tried on multiple occasions to sit down and finish that game, and I haven't done it.
And now I've played a playthrough, and I can tell you, I don't want to play this game 3 more times. Nah, I'm not. Unless that final story is like written by goddamn Shakespeare from the grave, and directed by
To
freaking.
quote Fidel on another Sonic game, the ending of this game better suck my dick, bro. And it in fact does not suck my dick.
Yeah. So like, unless the ending is literally the best piece of Sonic media forged from the Sonic Adventure 2 team, Ian Flynn and Christian Whitehead, Ken Penders, all in one room, transcending space and time, I don't think that Sonic Heroes is gonna climb up my list if I play it 3 more times.
Yeah, but do you like Metal Sonic? Cause it's got Metal Sonic. He was in Sonic CD. He wasn't in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. That's a throwback.
And Sonic CD is only marginally better than Heroes.
Joe is trying to cancel us so bad. Well, I shouldn't say cancel like that. Yeah, he is trying to ruin us, man. He still hasn't even gotten to the other thing he played that he hates.
Wrath of Cortex is awful. Like, I can't even think of a good thing to say about Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex.
Well, if you want to hear what I think about Wrath of Cortex, check out that tier list I just put out a week or so ago, and you can hear what I think, where I drop the bomb and say,
It felt like
Cortex is more fun than Crash 4.
it felt like playing a Crash game with a hangover. Everything's just uglier, feels worse. The bosses are like incredibly
Amen.
bad. The game,
But hey, at
runs
least it
like-
feels like a Crash Bandicoot game, so that's a point over Crash 4.
Yeah, a Crash Bandicoot game because I crashed my car into the goddamn telephone pole. Maybe.
It's okay, Joe. It's okay.
It also crashed on me.
It's okay. Oh yeah, it did actually crash on you.
It's not even the PS2 version. Alright, yeah, that's my thoughts of Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. No, I hate that game. Alright, I think that's about all that I've went through on that trip. So you have the floor again.
So, I didn't really watch a whole... We watched a decent amount of, like, little cobbled together bits of shows, whatever was on cable. Found out a lot of shows the missus was not a fan of. Not enough for me to really talk about here. But stuff I would like to try to check out more in the future. Potentially rewatch through, like, 2.5 Men. And we watched a decent amount of Simpsons, which he was a bit more warmed up to than before. But as for like the things that I actually got into that I started watching more when I came back, really only like 2 or 3 things. I had never watched Quantum Leap before, and it was on the TV, and man, I got hooked into that for a while. And then I think I wound up watching like halfway through season 2 before I had to just stop. Not because I thought the show was bad, but it's just like the episodes are very meaty, you know? It's like eating a really full meal. You gotta stop the episode. The shows like that back then, like, you know, they subsidize going to see the movies. You sit and you watch an hour show, and it's like, it feels like you're watching a whole damn movie. And that's kind of how it is with Quantum Leap. Each episode's like its own fucking movie with a brand new set of supporting cast, characters, sets, costumes, you know, everything. So it's like, it's hard to stay invested all the time in that episodic structure, but it's very good for what it is. It really draws you in. Quantum Leap is awesome. And then I also was watching The Food That Built America. I was really engrossed into that mix of like the documentary style with the, you know, sort of recreation style. It just hit me in the right way. It really worked. I don't know how, but it really worked. And we watched like a lot of episodes of The Food That Built America while we were there. Yeah, that shit hit. And then we finally got Joe to calm down. And now I gotta bring this up. I rediscovered a movie that I think might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let me roll with this one. You can kind of come in because you need to go cool off. Go cool off for a sec. Because I remember I was like, let's watch a silly dumb movie. So I put on Reanimated, a Cartoon Network movie. Reanimated, and it was so bad I had to ask Joe to watch it because I couldn't believe how bad it was. I've watched pornos that were better, that felt like a more legitimate production than this. And that's not a discredit to pornography. But I'm saying this movie that aired on television felt cheaper than most pornos I've seen. Legitimately. The directing was bad. The cinematography was bad. The acting was bad. The fucking cameras looked bad. It looked like a fucking YouTube video in terms of the quality. Like, look, I could go on forever about it. It doesn't function as a movie. I genuinely... The Room, Tommy Wiseau's The Room, is a better film. It is a better constructed movie than Reanimated.
Golly, these are some rough criticisms that I all agree with.
Oh yeah, and I hate Golly too. He fucking sucks.
Golly Gopher is like...
a piece of shit. He's like if they took Mickey from that South Park episode, but made him a character, but didn't make him ironically supposed to be an asshole, but actually made him an asshole. Oh god. That kid gets freaking GTA killed by the train. He put wasted on the screen when he gets fucking launched.
There's a quote I said about this movie when I watched it.
And keep in mind, I'm used to like kids shit, like stuff on like kids networks and all that. That's kind of like my bag. So for me to be so, you can go. You say. I'll come back to this point in a sec. I want to hear what you say.
Reanimated is possibly the worst film I've ever seen that wasn't indie or propaganda.
Yeah. Oh, and we'll talk about that later. The indie propaganda. Yeah, no, I can't really argue with you on that one. You generally, this wheelhouse of stuff you would hate to begin with, so you already weren't gonna like it. But even beyond that, your standards, this would be below your standards. Like, you don't watch like made-for-TV kids movies. I have a soft spot for them, especially Disney Channel original movies. Hell, even some of the Nickelodeon ones aren't terrible. So I have a custom to this. But that makes me more disappointed. You probably hate this simply on the basis it's a terrible movie and it's something you already wouldn't like. I hate this because this is something I do like, and it's a mockery of that. You know, you can't release this the same year High School Musical 2 comes out, and they're not even in the same league. They're not even playing the same game here. Bro, this movie isn't finished. There's effects that aren't properly finished. The only reason the ending, the climax of the film is hand-drawn is probably because they didn't have the budget to actually make the ending. I can't imagine the show being worse.
Yeah, like High School Musical 2 plays an average game of chess, and Reanimated is trying to find the TV remote.
Reanimated is trying to play Chinese checkers inside of a vacuum.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Holy shit. Yeah, no. I could talk for more about that. And I plan to. Somewhere down the line, I don't know which channel. But I'm gonna talk about Reanimated. You guys are gonna hear about it.
Alright, since I have literally nowhere else to put this, against my better judgment, my brother and friends convinced me to buy a game from Activision Blizzard. And I finally played Diablo 2 Resurrected, because growing up, I really did like Diablo 2, but never got too far in it. And I finally played through it this summer. I had a pretty good time with it overall. It definitely isn't my genre. It definitely felt pretty repetitive as time went on, but it's a good game. I definitely prefer it to Diablo 3. Not a big fan of loot and mob games, as it turns out. But I really do appreciate what Diablo 2 brings to the table otherwise. I think if Act 2 was replaced with something else, the game would have shot up like at least a tier. It's a good time. Even if it's not my kind of game in the end of the day.
That's fine. Everything else I got coming up, we want to do a lightning round, or you want to hit up some of the shared media?
Oh yeah, if we want to talk about some of the shared media, go ahead.
I'm gonna blitz through some lightning round stuff real quick, just because I don't want to dwell on them, but I didn't want to bring them up before we start getting into some of the meatier stuff again. So, here's a couple, because you talked about a game. I'm going to talk about a few games that I played over the summer real quick. But I didn't really, like, play them. I kind of just was, like, you know, sampling them out. I got a couple hours in. Not enough to make, like, a full-on discussion of, but enough to sort of chat about. So, Klonoa 1 Remastered, that was decently fun. I didn't finish it up, but I thought Klonoa was pretty fun, cute. God, that soundtrack's so good. How the hell? They were on some crack when they were making that soundtrack. It is so good. How? Bruh. Ben 10 Power Trip? Holy crap, was that a remarkably good licensed open world kids game? Crazy shit. The physics are ridiculous. You can do so much. Monkey Ball Banana Mania came out, and I think we both played this one. Physics aren't 100%, but I enjoyed it. It's Monkey Ball. It's a good way to bring it back.
Yeah, wasn't on my list because I played it 2021.
Yeah, I think it was also on my list, but I didn't really do much with it until 2022. So I'm just kind of shot there. There's some other stuff I played. I tried I Am Fish, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Battletoads. Played a couple hours of Raji, an Ancient Epic. That game was actually really fun. I really like the art style of it. But again, not something I have enough to really like make a full-on discussion of. All right, Joe, which movie which is about cartoon characters in the real world do you want to talk about first? Because we got two of them.
Is it time to talk about Fat Albert?
All right, we'll talk about that first.
Like, I was just over Dan's house for a weekend.
Yeah, it was a very weird experience. Watching that movie made me feel like I was having a spiritual awakening. It was so weird. It's not a good movie, but
it's not as bad as I expected it to be.
I mean, look, to be fair, I think Reanimated changed our perspective on everything. Fat Albert is so weird. Yeah, no, honestly, if I didn't watch Reanimated, it probably would have been a lot lower for me. But just, it's such a weird movie. It put me in such a weird feeling because I kept being unable to believe what I was experiencing. Like, how is this a real movie? It's like a facsimile of a movie. How did these ideas come together? How did this decision to make this a Fat Albert movie? Why is anything? Why are they actual cartoons?
Why did you make the Fat Albert isekai?
Yeah. Hey, get in the robot, Shinji.
This movie feels like it's like good and bad at the same time. Because it feels like it's playing with a lot of concepts and beats that could theoretically be incredibly fascinating.
They should have waited 10 years and made this a Netflix series.
Yeah, and you can definitely feel that because, like, only half of the Fat Albert crew really feels like they're actually in the movie.
Considering in, like, the 2/3 into the movie, half of them go back to the cartoon world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a movie, alright. That was something. Hey. Bro, I couldn't stop that for like a literal week. I couldn't stop going, hey. And just singing that, nah, gonna have a good time, hey.
Yeah, and just, I don't know, the idea of the characters losing their cartoon personality traits, becoming more desaturated and realistic as time went on. Like, what are you doing here? This is like kind of high concept.
Bruh, it's too much for a Fat Albert movie.
Like, it's the kind of below average movie that I actually like enjoyed and really appreciated watching because, like,
it's a palate cleanser. It really puts perspective on everything.
Yeah, a big recurring theme for this year is to really get a feel on what a 1 to 10 scale really feels like.
This really showed me what a pure 4 out of 10 was.
Yeah.
Like, there is enjoyment to be had in this movie, but I also cannot lie to myself and not say that it is more bad than good. Fat Albert is more bad than good, but don't let that... There's still 4 points of good in there, and I think that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah.
If I was to rate Reanimated, I'd give it a 1 out of 10, simply because at least it's a completed film. Technically. Fat Albert has 4 points worth of good, I'd say. Can't name him right now because we're already like over an hour into this thing, and also I don't want to think about it right now, but... That's like 3 right there. I'll give the other one to the fact that the guy in the blue was played by a Power Ranger. So we'll go there. 4.
Alright.
Yeah.
I guess since we already talked about cartoon characters in the real world.
Yeah, let's hit the one that's worse somehow. Or is it worse? I don't know.
They're the same tier. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2022.
No, not Chippendales. That's a different movie that I actually was kind of interested in watching, but never checked out. Or no, that was a Hulu series. Fuck, I don't remember. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the Chippendale series. But no, we're talking about Chip and Dale's.
So, definitely a movie that was not in a good position for me, who, at this point, was already very tired of meta humor.
Yeah.
And that is what this movie is.
This movie was fun to watch once. I don't think I would have fun watching it again. I was fun to be like, oh, there's the ugly Sonic. There's the funny puppet. There's My Little Pony. There's anime. But outside of that, the movie has like nothing interesting going on. It's just meta jokes and, you know.
Like, yeah, the best parts for me.
Jinx, you owe me a non-brand specific cola.
Yeah, my favorite parts of this movie were ugly Sonic, the illegal cheese smuggling Muppet.
Yeah, you guys are definitely cops.
And middle-aged Peter Pan saying, well, death comes for us all, kid. As he talks to one of the kids from Peter Pan. And for whatever reason, whenever I'm taking a walk or someone else taking a walk, that one clip of him just saying, "Gotta get my..." I don't know why this version of Peter Pan just stuck in my head. But, you know, I'm taking something from this movie.
Say the line. You didn't even say. You just said there's a line that's stuck in my head, and then you cut yourself off. Do the line.
No, I already said, gotta get my steps in, as he walks on a treadmill for like 20 seconds, tops.
Gotta get my steps in.
As he's expositing his plan of bootlegging. Yeah, this movie's like plot is like,
oh my god, that
are getting trafficked for bootlegging.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, the cameo fest of murder victims, the room of evidence bags of all those characters, Jimmy Neutron, Goku. It's like murdering and bootlegging. It's like hell.
Like,
I can't lie though, the police chief, freaking Gumby was like really funny to me for some reason. I think he had a really funny line, I can't remember, and I'm not gonna dwell on it because it's like midnight, we gotta keep going.
Yeah, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, overall, there's some fun moments, there's some stuff you're probably going to like, but as a whole film, not really.
Yeah, wasn't really worth getting that into.
Now I feel a bit vindicated putting it just above Fat Albert because I feel like we actually had positives to say.
Bro, you're gonna spoil your own tier list, man.
Okay.
They can read between the lines. Subtlety.
Now speaking of subtlety, we're gonna talk about Bulgarian Treasure Planet.
Man, I'm glad I watched Bulgarian Treasure Planet. Like,
much like Fat Albert, it was also an existential out-of-body experience.
Like, you have what is perhaps the most distinct visual style of all time.
It was definitely something I've never seen before.
Yeah, it's a wacky animated adventure with a surprisingly poignant ending, and you get some really kind of epic, also kind of bizarre animated sequences. Like, I don't think the opera scene's ever leaving my subconscious.
That ending, like, actually got me, man. It was like, the movie was so weird because the first half hour was like, or maybe not half hour, wasn't, how long was the movie? I don't know, either way, like, the first, like, third of the movie kind of, like, took me out. And then I started getting into a groove, and it was, like, actually, like, compelling after a while. And then there was that part on the volcano or the planet or whatever that sucked. And then it got good again. And it got crazy by the end. And I was like, if I was high, I'd be losing my mind. I felt like I was high by the end of that movie.
Yeah. Man. It's like, as weird as it is, I think it's actually good.
It left me with emotional resonance, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
It made me feel something. I didn't think I would.
Easily the second.
I was like,
before you say what you're saying, it's easily the second best thing I've seen with Bryan Cranston in it this year.
easily is the second best thing I think I've seen with Mickey Mouse in it too.
Yeah, how did they do it? How's Mickey Mouse in this movie?
Oh well, they stole him.
Oh yeah, that's why Mickey Mouse wasn't in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, is because he was already kidnapped by Bulgaria.
Yeah. I have a couple series that I watched throughout the summer through the spring into the summer. We'll talk about the main one in a sec, but I don't want to preface that I had a routine while I was watching this show that I had two other shows to kind of pace them out. I think you did something similar, or at least for a little bit, where I had two shows to kind of watch to kind of balance them out in terms of tone. So we will get to the show that we both watched, but I want to talk about the other two first and kind of progressively go from there. So if you'll indulge me for a moment, and yeah, if you guys are smart, you guys already know what the hell we're talking about because we said Bryan Cranston. But alright. So yeah, this is a big year for me getting back into Tokusatsu. I watched Power Rangers Dino Fury, and that shit was so actually good that it kind of like spun me into getting back into like Toku, like more traditional Japanese Tokusatsu. Power Rangers Dino Fury is like a good ass season of Power Rangers. So if y'all have been like waiting for something decent to watch Power Rangers Dino Fury. It's the best season since like RPM in 2009. It's actually good. It's actually good Power Rangers. It's actually a good show. I promise y'all. It's not gonna blow your minds or anything, but it is just very competent Power Rangers, which I've been waiting for a long time for. I was binging that shit hard. And then something less good, but enjoy it. Surprisingly, it was cheesier than the Power Rangers. Cobra Kai. I watched all 5 seasons of Cobra Kai, because I needed something a little bit heavier than Power Rangers, but a little bit lighter than the other show. And this had the right level of cheese to it. It was okay. It was very weird. I am probably only going to watch the next season because of just the fact that I've already seen the other 5. I've never watched The Karate Kid, but, you know, liberal use of flashbacks and characters expositing about past things informed me enough. It was fun. There were a lot of fun moments. I really liked that scene of the school at the end of the second season. That was really cool. They usually end off each season with a big-ass fight. Johnny and Daniel's fighting. It's always fun. They just flanderized everyone by the end. It was weird. Not great, but it was fun. Yeah, I needed those two shows to really balance things out. For the next thing that Joe and I both watched, I finished. He's still working on.
Yep, we've been he watched. I am watching Breaking Bad.
Yeah, man. Without spoilers, holy fucking shit. They actually did it. The hype was real. The hype that people made up on the internet about Breaking Bad was real. I got sick of just seeing the memes every other day on my Twitter and not knowing what it was about. And I was like, alright, I just gotta watch it so I can understand the memes. And I am so glad I did, because if I had waited any longer, I would have been spoiled by Twitter. Literally, what was happening is I was getting spoiled by things. Or no, I was seeing things on my Twitter and YouTube, like, days later, that were scenes that I've seen from those episodes. I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't get spoiled, because I would have been so pissed.
Yeah.
Truly a masterpiece show. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, they really cooked up something good there. I've been enjoying it. I've been taking it at a pretty slow pace. It is hard for me to binge that show.
It is hard to binge, but at the same time, it is so good. This is why I created the system of rotating things out, because Breaking Bad's so good, but I knew I needed to savor it, so I would watch the other shows. I would watch Breaking Bad. I basically had like a cooldown meter on my Breaking Bad. I couldn't binge it too hard, so I would watch other shows, Dino Fury and Cobra Kai, to sort of fill in the space. and I would pretty much rotate them out. So once I got too burned out on a really heavy show like Breaking Bad, I'd switch over to Power Rangers, and it would give me, something light, fun, energetic. If Power Rangers is put, I'm not in the mood for like something that sugary sweet, go to Cobra Kai, which gives me the cheese and the camp and gives me that drama, but not good drama, like cheesy, shitty drama. So like they all balanced each other out well. And I basically finished all three around nearly the same time. I finished Dino Fury a lot quicker than the other two. And then I think I mixed something else in near the end of it. It still worked out in the end. I think I started mixing in episodes of Raven's Home. I was watching that. Oh, yeah. Anything more you want to say about Breaking Bad?
No, you kind of covered the bases, really.
I mean, what do we need to say? Go fucking watch Breaking Bad. Jesse Pinkman became my comfort character of the year, which is probably the worst possible thing I could do to myself emotionally. But yeah, Raven's Home. I watched like about 3 seasons worth of Raven's Home. That was the other thing that we were watching in the hotel. Was Raven's Home. We were watching the new episodes, I think. Yeah, from season 5, where they went back to the old house. Context. For those who aren't aware of the That's So Raven lore, the first 4 seasons of Raven's Home are with the kids, and they're in Chicago, and they got a new apartment, and they're hanging out with Chelsea and her kid. And then for season 5 of Raven's Home, just Raven and her son go back home to San Francisco to stay with Raven's father, and they have a whole new cast of friends. And it's like weird because I don't think Disney Channel's ever had a show go for 5 seasons. They never do that. That's so weird. It's like they wanted to reboot the show but didn't, but they did. So they did. So, but no, season 5 of Raven's Home was perfectly easy for me to watch, like I had never seen any other season before because I hadn't, and then I decided to go back and watch seasons 1, and I'm currently midway through season 2. It is remarkably good. And I say that because I also, in that time, watched 4.5 seasons of Fuller House, and we have like 6 or 7 episodes left to finish of that show, and I don't know, I just kind of ran out of steam with it. But Raven's Home kicks that show's ass. Now, Fuller House ain't bad, but damn, I shouldn't have been watching Raven's Home, because ever since I started watching Raven's Home, like, bro, Fuller House just sucks compared to it. Even compared to the original Full House, which we also started watching some episodes of. Nah, Raven's Home, that shit is awesome. Genuinely really good. Anything else for you throughout the summer, Joe? Any other ones you want to kind of hit up?
Alright, I'm just scanning through just one more time.
Alright, while you're doing that, let me tell y'all about a movie that I rewatched that, wow, it's like one of those, why the fuck did I even like this movie besides the fact that we just watched a lot as a kid? Dickie Roberts' former child star. We watched this movie so much as a kid, I don't know why. It's not even like a good movie. It's nostalgic to me. Beyond nostalgia, I have no enjoyment of this movie. Or, may not know, but I have... Bruh. It's not reanimated bad. It's not even really technically bad. I think in terms of being a movie, I guess it's better put together than like a Fat Albert. But, this is why it's going to be fun when we do our actual like tier lists and all that later. And I kind of rank everything. But just to get a general opinion out there. Like, yeah, this is like, for me, I kind of have a trifecta of like movies that I watched from that age that were not age appropriate at all. This, Dodgeball, and Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights are kind of like a trio for me. And this is easily the weak link of the 3 of those. Those movies hold up much better. Not like they're high art or anything. Although Ricky Bobby might actually be a piece of art. That movie is so good. Dodgeball, fun. Not Ricky Bobby. Dickie Roberts. Yeah, this movie is aged like milk.
So, Return to Treasure Island, otherwise known as the other meme one, otherwise known as Soviet Treasure Island, is a wacky cartoon adaptation of Treasure Island. It's got the funny walking meme. It's got an anti-drinking message. It's a good old classic knee-slapping cartoon. And also, thanks to Dan over here showing me this short film's existence, I I also watched The Adventures of Ronald McDonald, McTreasure Island, which, you know,
One of the few pieces of McDonald Land lore I have not consumed.
it was definitely a McDonald's cartoon. You're not getting much value here, but, you know, it also
So
wasn't
you'd
that
say
long.
it's got as much substance, as much a healthy as much nourishing substance as an actual McDonald's meal?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's as substantial and nourishing as eating McDonald's.
You see, you get what you see.
You've been working on Treasure Island a lot this year for some reason.
I don't know. I've got the book saved up on my Audible account.
He's planning something.
Alright, I also watched this in the summer. So, like, I already kind of talked about it, but I might as well talk about the Black Cauldron film.
Knock
Yeah.
it out real quick.
Alright, it's a bastardized combination of the first two books. Cuts a whole lot out. The protagonist Taran is basically like locked into what he was the first half of the first book, the immature, in over his head hero. So not a character you want to follow for the whole movie. Despite it all, I'd say that I love the visuals of this film, but yikes, basically everything else is like bad to maybe alright. Yeah, nah. Without going into too much detail, that's effectively what I can say about it. I wish it wasn't as bad as people said it was, but no, it kind of is. Apparently, this movie is also supposed to be a lot longer, but it also went through development hell, and like you could like clearly notice that.
This is true.
Yep, glad to have watched it. Also, screw it. Like, now that I know what these characters are supposed to represent, I am now mad. But yeah, no, that's like everything I experienced in the summer.
Autumn's when I was really ramping up my media watching. I was really starting to get into stuff. Yeah, I was really starting to get into stuff because I was starting to get content driven. This is around when we started up the channel, which, you know, almost a thing. Let's talk a little bit, I guess, about sort of our enthusiasm and what the media that we what kind of media, I guess, maybe we were watching or starting to consume for the purposes of content, if there's any in here that you were, like, interested in checking out specifically for the purpose of maybe using for content, because I know this is when we started the channel, was around this time.
Okay, actually, just realized, summer, Multiverses came out.
Yeah. I had it in my notes, but I think I had mine a little bit later. But yeah, Multiverses, that was the thing that we did an episode on. You could check it out at the card or something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Yeah, Multiverses, that was a game that we played, and we did a whole little discussion about, but the general gist is, like, I don't think I've played it even since that we did that episode. I am just, like, you know, it's fine. Cool game. It's more fun to speculate about, but honestly, it just feels like the conversation's kind of dipped off from that game.
Yeah.
I feel like it had its time, and, you know, it ain't taking any way away from Fortnite anytime soon.
It's a fun game to crack open with some friends. It has had a bit of a tumultuous development history. Like, it's definitely had some issues with its updates, some stability issues, a lot of balance issues. Yeah, it's a fun time. That's about it.
Oh. Yeah,
okay.
At least, yeah, no, I was watching a lot of content around this time. Specifically, a decent amount of it I was interested in for trying to make content about. That was a sentence and a half. Really bundled that one. Anyway, yeah, no, a lot of content I was starting to check out because I was really in the mood to, like, things that I might want to discuss. Which is why, during the month of October, I shotgunned through not only She-Hulk, which I remarkably don't have a lot to say. It's only the second MCU thing I've ever consumed, and gosh darn it, it was kind of good in spots, but felt held back by being an MCU show because it couldn't commit to just being a not MCU show. Gosh, that formula is so generic. Bruh. Feels like you already seen it all. But something that's actually somehow more interesting than the show with the hot green lady is I watched all 4 of the Halloween Town films again. And the first 2, damn, those still hold up. This last 2 Holy God, those are awful. They're not the worst things I've ever seen. I'd probably rather watch Halloween Town High than. No, I'd rather watch Fat Albert than Halloween Town High, but I'd rather watch that than Reanimated because at least this is a movie. It's a really bad movie, but at least it's a movie. First two Halloween Towns are genuinely still imaginative and still really endearing to me. And I kind of want to talk about them and sort of bring them back in the conversation since I feel like they're very often overlooked in the sort of general lexicon of Disney Channel content. They're not as big as the High School Musicals or, even stuff like the new zombie movies that have been out. I think they have a series that's called Zombies or whatever. Zombie high school shit. So yeah, Halloween Town's often overlooked. Yeah, no, that's just something that was like, I want to watch this and I want to maybe write something about it. So that was kind of on my mind.
Alright, so I also read The Hobbit. It's a very, very influential book. Going to read the Lord of the Rings books soon enough. But yeah, like definitely a bit old-timey, but it was actually a very pleasant experience to go through. You're probably not going to remember. A decent chunk of the main cast is fairly forgettable. There are a lot of characters that don't do much, but otherwise it's a very fun to listen to experience. Like the descriptions and all that, it's very immersive. Bilbo Baggins is like the textbook reluctant hero archetype. Despite his talents, he just kind of wants to relax at his house and just chill. And you know what? Yeah, same. That's me at work. Also, around the autumn, I watched a barrage of special film.
Very special films.
Alright, so the movie that rivals Reanimated, I watched at work. The Little Panda Fighter. Why? It was free on YouTube because someone uploaded it illegally.
Wait, you were watching stuff at work?
I had a slow day, and I figured, I'm going to watch The Little Panda Fighter. And if you ever heard anything about that movie, it's exactly as bad as it sounds. It's a bootleg. It's about...
And make it...
Huh?
Peter Pan make it?
It is about a panda who works at a restaurant that's also a boxing ring. And he's actually like a professional dancer in his spare time. But because the owner can't technically participate because he's used to be a professional boxer, but he wants to make a lot of money, so he disguises himself. It's really...
Oh, do you think I care about the narrative? Tell me about the funny things.
The movie is just...
You think anyone fucking cares about the story of Little Panda Fighter? Just tell me the funny stuff.
It's just... I don't know, it's really crudely made, so it's just kind of funny on its... and just combined with its very dopey voice acting. It's a funny watch, but the movie itself has no redeeming value. Look, the main character is extremely cringy, so when you get him... as you watch him get the shit beat out of him by a professional fighter, it is a bit more cathartic than it's supposed to be. Alright, so I also watched Joshua and the Promised Land.
Bro, you were just in it on the shit it. I guess this is all for something. Or what, you gonna make a video about all the bad CG movies?
Hey, I've been at my quest to know what a 1 out of 10 is when I see it.
And is that not Reanimated? Are these worse?
Little Panda Fighter's in the same goddamn level. Joshua and the Promised Land is slightly better. I mean, I don't really have to say much about it. This movie's kind of a meme legend. Speaking of meme legends, I've also read the first 9 or 10 issues of Sonichu.
Jeez.
Like, it's exactly as bad as people say it is, but it's somehow, like, not the worst thing I've experienced this year. I'd rather read Sonichu than watch Reanimated.
Oh my god. Golly Gopher versus Sonichu. Wait a minute, they're the same!
Yeah. Actually.
They're controlling his life! Wait a minute.
They're concerningly similar.
Hey Jimmy, the merge is happening.
then you better seal it shut.
To seal it shut, I shall make it one of its greatest quotes. You don't have to tell me twice, but during the Stone Age. Alright, so for a slightly less shit production, I watched Stravinsky and the Mysterious House, which is almost pleasant until you realize that some of the lessons are kind of bad faith.
Unless you have something to say.
Okay, so like the Rat King tries to persuade you into following his order. He is a Satan XP by possessing books that people get too invested into reading, but they don't really tell you what a bad book is, except it's about lies or something. Like, I'm not sure how this lesson's supposed to help anyone. This is the movie that had the Glob Go Gab Glab in it. It had some relatively pleasant music, and honestly, like, yeah. Like, look, the Rat King had an unironic banger of a song, and Glob Go Gab Glab is actually, like, a really cool concept. And considering this movie's only, like, 23 minutes long, or, like, half hour tops, that's, like, a significant chunk of the movie, so it manages to avoid the bottom rung by having some redeeming qualities. And to put a cap on it, another movie, well, short movie, 10th Rider appears, Kamen Riders, All Riders Assemble, otherwise known as Kamen Riders Across, is like a reunion movie with a loose plot that does not have enough time to do anything interesting. It's a
Good time.
It's some exposition and a couple cool set pieces, and not much more than that.
That was a good time for me to now steal the mic away. Get done, you cut off.
Alright.
Bro. Another tokusatsu movie that I watched that also had the number 10 in it. Kaizouken Sentai Ten Gokaiger, the reunion film for the Gokaigers. I have not watched any of the other reunion films because I either didn't care about them or I heard the Go Under one was not good, so I just avoided it, even though I own the fucking Blu-ray box set. Well, not a box set, but whatever it was. I own the Go Under one, I still haven't watched it. I watched Gokaiger. It was good. I appreciate it more now after watching One Piece. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a decent enough time. I've seen a lot of terrible Toku movies, so my standards are, this didn't upset me or offend me, so it was fine. It was a perfectly amicable piece of media to consume. And that's my floor. So that made me happy.
I'll give you a response next year after I've watched Gokaiger.
Said it. He's watching it. He said it, and now he has to watch it.
Yeah, no, it's actually like kind of on my docket. So yeah, I'll probably be watching that soon. Alright, autumn. Ultra Kaiju Monster Rancher came out. So like, yeah, first.
Wait, we're not in autumn. I'm on fucking November. We gave up on the number system or the seasonal system. We don't got time for seasons.
Okay.
But yeah, Ultra Kaiju.
Point being, they made a new Monster Rancher game that's very old school in structure, and it's about Ultraman Kaiju.
Oh, that's how you're connecting it back. The big three.
Yeah, we talked about the big three of Tokusatsu.
In a row. Unintentionally. We did it.
So yeah, it's definitely a decent, decent return to Monster Rancher. For better and for worse, it is very much trying to be like the first two games. And yeah, it definitely feels a bit small in scope as a result, but it's a fun time. I'm still kind of wishy-washy on whether or not I actually consider this better than Advanced 2, but I'm leaning towards being underneath. But simply put, yeah, it's a great. I'm glad to have played this. It is definitely something of an experience to be able to raise these iconic kaiju in a Monster Rancher game. Now, if only it ran better.
Speaking of running better, played a decent amount of Sonic games. Played through Sonic Adventure, the 360 Steam port. Gosh, that version is poop. It is not good. I played it out of obligation to get all my achievements, and I am never touching that version again. I will stick with the Dreamcast or GameCube versions exclusively, or possibly a modded version of the Steam version, but the vanilla 360 and PS3 version is dog water. That being said, Sonic Frontiers. Holy shit, was that a good game. It was everything I wanted a new Sonic game to be. Made me happy. Made me feel emotional. It made me feel connected to the characters that I love and have always enjoyed. It was good Knuckles, good Tails, good Amy, even good Roger Craig Smith Sonic. I love Sage. She's a cute little baby who wants to murder everybody. I love Eggman. The gameplay was good. The fucking music. Sonic music's always good, but this felt like Sonic. Fuck the pain away! Fuck the pain away! Yeah, the Sonic Frontiers filled me with a level of happiness and confidence in the franchise I haven't felt in so long. It's not even funny. Combine other Sonic media, like I checked out a few episodes of Sonic Prime. We also were watching a few episodes of Sonic X with the Japanese subs, since it's like legally available in a lot of streaming services. So it's been a good year for consuming some Sonic, minus the mediocre Adventure 1 port. Definitely been getting me reinvigorated into the franchise, because up until this year, up until before Sonic 1, the movie, kind of got me a little bit back on the horse, but this year particularly really made me happy to be a Sonic fan. It really made me feel like I came back home again.
Yeah, so kind of half speaking about Sonic, the very last thing I experienced this year, like not the last thing I have to talk about, but you know, this is kind of connected to Sonic, is that I played Freedom Planet, which was a very fun platformer that I'm definitely going to get that sequel at some point. It has a neat little story. The bosses are oddly difficult, which I did not really expect of a game like this. I'm glad to have finally got it off my backlog. For whatever reason, it was like crashing during certain cutscenes. Not sure what that was about.
With you and having crashing games this year, Joe. What the fuck are you putting on your computer?
This was on my fresh PS5.
What are you putting on your PS5, Joe? Are you one of the metrics for the annual reports for what console gets used? What are you looking up on the internet browser on your PS5, Joe?
Do you think I'd be ever do something sus? Do you think I'm some sort of degenerate?
Joe, are you implicating people that have a healthy consumption of sexual content are degenerates?
I would be a damn hypocrite if I said so. I watched Tusk this year.
I was like, what are we gonna fucking transition to? Like, alright, Tusk. You rewatched it. You gotta emphasize that you rewatched it.
Yeah.
Because you tortured me with it before. Now you watched it for your own sick pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strange horror movie. I don't know. Its concept alone is quite memorable. As a podcast host goes to interview this wealthy Canadian with a glorious story to tell, only to get surgically turned into a walrus.
If anyone from Canada asks us to come out for an interview, you can understand what we're saying now. Also, I think he was a radio host, not a podcast. I don't remember. I don't fucking care. I'm not rewatching it to find out.
The last couple things on my list, now that I already talked about things I played on my PS5, I played Demon's Souls 2020, the remake. I mean, it's Demon's Souls, it's like one of my favorite games. And now it's on a PlayStation 5, and it looks like a modern experience. Still a fantastic experience, still a fantastic game. Another day at work, I listened to a reading of Asimov's The Last Question. If you ever needed to think about the inevitable end of the universe, give that influential writing a try. It is not that long. I played Peggle, which was a very fun puzzle game that's very accessible on your computer.
Hey.
And then I watched Futo PI, which is
I also did. We're thinking about possibly doing a full episode discussion on that. If you guys are interested, let us know. We'll give our general thoughts. I didn't finish the show yet. I still have a few more episodes, but generally, in the most surface level terms, since we're also 2 fucking hours into this discussion, what'd you think?
It's slick and honestly kind of extremely mediocre.
We are coming at this from 2 very different perspectives, and yet we both hit the same conclusion from 2 different points of view, is that the show is very in the middle. It has some good stuff, has some bad stuff. For me, it's, just more Kamen Rider Double, and I find Kamen Rider Double to be a fairly in the middle season. So for me, it's just, as what it is, just more Kamen Rider Double. But I know that you have no experience with that, so for you, it's just a seasonal anime. You're like, yep, this is just a middle of the road seasonal anime.
That's definitely a show with a Kamen Rider in it.
Yeah.
And those directors were on something.
Yeah, man, they were on something. There was some crazy shit in that show, though.
Yeah, those illustrators were working something out because this show is a little unhinged in the fan service department.
Yeah, man. We got Fang Trigger. Bro, that fan service was sweet. Also, titties.
Yeah. I really like the ending theme.
You want to run, you want to run, you want to run.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, lady. You want to run, That shit with Bubs. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's about it for me. Oh! And... I almost forgot about these two. Well, I read The Foundling, which was, like, written a little after... a few years after, like, 10 years after the end of the Predating Chronicles, which is essentially, like, a bunch of short side stories about a lot of the characters and stuff before, like, it's basically a collection of short stories that serve as a prequel. And I also watched Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I really liked it. It was a pretty beautiful story told in great stop motion. You get Tom Kenny Mussolini. It's definitely a film that you can definitely tell that he's been wanting to make for a long time. Maybe this year I'll watch the other 2 notable Pinocchio films that came out in 2022.
Father, I can go all out on my own.
Yep, that's everything for me, so...
I'll shotgun the rest of my stuff real quick. Wrapping up, since you were talking about a couple games, actually I think I mostly covered it. Throughout the year, I was also kind of chipping away. I've been chipping away at Yakuza 5 for a while. I've been playing through the Yakuza games over the years. Then my family expanded, and I didn't really have the option to do that much. So I've been really slowly taking my time on Yakuza 5. It also doesn't help that Yakuza 5 is one of the slowest games. Like, it's got some solid stuff, but I think it's a marginal step down from the previous entry, Yakuza 4, where that figured out how to make the open world with multiple characters work. And this game suffers from quantity and not quality. Also, the Saejima portion is like the most draining and tiresome portion of the entire Yakuza franchise in this game. So much not playing the game. It really sucks the life out of you. But I think there are some good points to it. I can't argue it's not a good game. It's just significantly lower down than the other games in the franchise, and I don't know when I'm gonna get around to finishing it. I'm like I'm on Haruka's chapter, which is like the middle of the story, so I'm getting close. It's just like gotta just push through. I also was playing Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories because I think I played Kingdom Hearts 1 again on the Xbox. In 2021, I played through Kingdom Hearts 1 like 2 or 3 times on the PS4, and then I switched consoles. So I don't really remember, or I don't really know when I played Kingdom Hearts 1 again on the Xbox. But I'll mostly stick to talking about. Yeah, I'll just stick to talking about Chain of Memories for the most part. But just know that Kingdom Hearts 1 went from being a game I thought was mid to being, it's now my top 10 favorite games of all time. Holy shit, is that first game amazing. But yeah, I was a fool. I was not a good gamer, I guess, was my excuse, because that combat is killer. And then Rechain of Memories takes that combat, slaps a card battle system on it that's unnecessary, and completely fucking ruins it. God, that system sucks. I really kind of wish I just played the GBA version instead, because at least then I can justify a card system, and there's less buttons, and it's probably easier, because it's on a 2D plane instead of a 3D environment. Oh god. As a neat bonus, like, because originally Rechain of Memories was sold as a bonus disc with Kingdom Hearts 2, I think the final mix version in Japan or something.
Yeah.
So it was originally a bonus, and as a bonus, cool. As a game you pay money for, holy shit, that sucks. Which is a shame because the story in Chain of Memories is actually really good, but it's either you're playing it on the GBA or playing it on a shitty card battle system on the console, and that just made me really upset. So that really kind of covers that. I think that about covers it for games, so let me just hit the last couple shows or movies I was watching. I got about halfway up to season 6 of Scrubs, so I watched seasons 4 and 5. I'll talk more in detail about those, but season 4 and 5 and currently 6 are pretty solid. They're really what I think most people would remember the show as being, because the first 3 seasons are kind of not good. I mean, not terrible, but like season 3 almost made me stop. I can tell why it took me so long to finish season 3, because season 3 fucking sucked. Seasons 4 and 5, especially season 5, are really good. Peak Scrubs. I'm interested to see how the rest of the show goes, as I'm going to be finishing that up this year.
Alright, so a few like incomplete things I might as well put on the docket, since we've been talking about a few things we didn't quite complete. I started, but couldn't quite sink my teeth into the combat of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I do intend on going through the game at some point, but I just wasn't feeling it at the time. I also played a decent chunk of Atelier Ryza, where I like pretty much everything. Oh, I like pretty much everything about both games except for the combat systems. So that's a little unfortunate on my end. Well, I read like the first arc of Naruto, but wasn't feeling it at the time. It just wasn't like, it's not the time yet. I'm definitely going to read Naruto sooner rather than later. And I played Pokemon Scarlet, which is a gigantic mixed bag.
And I played some Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, which is a mixed bag. But continuing, where my list of incomplete items was incomplete due to getting cut off there, I'm going to continue on with where I was at. So, as far as some other stuff that I've been watching through, well, I guess I'll go and talk about a game real quick. I played a good couple hours of the first Arkham game, Arkham Asylum. I see why this was a big deal when it came out. Not really a game I'm all that motivated to continue, although I hear City is better, so maybe I should just play City. But I thought it was fine. Like, it was really good at being fairly average. It was a really good AAA game. It feels like the kind of game that you put into a sizzle reel so that people can watch and be like, ooh, this is a good game. But yeah, it was alright. I'm just gonna knock out the rest of these right here. And then I should be basically good at that point. So yeah, as Joe said, I finished Breaking Bad and I started watching Better Call Saul. I am almost done with Season 5, so I basically have mostly caught up to what's on Netflix. For me, not as good as Breaking Bad. It's still good television. I just think that Better Call Saul just takes a little too long to get going. I feel like if the first 2 seasons were really like cut in half or shrunk down, I feel like the show would get on with itself a lot quicker and really get to the good stuff. Watched a season and a half of The Good Place. I was ready to stop watching The Good Place until the season 1 twist, which, that completely changes the show, and it becomes a much more interesting show. So if you're like me and you want to try watching The Good Place, watch till the end of season 1 and watch the season 2 premiere and decide from then if you're going to keep watching. That it is very important. Like, I know a lot of shows are like, oh, you gotta watch the finale. It's like, but no, like, seriously. The show, literally, you can't have a complete opinion on the show if you don't at least watch the full first season. Alright, so I got, like, really 3 or 4 more things here. Bro, when I said I was getting back into Toku, I meant it. I watched I'm part of the way through a couple shows. The current running season of Super Sentai, Avatar Sentai Dawn Brothers, the 46th season. Holy crap, is that a good show? I was very pleased with it. It is very unconventional from modern Sentai. It feels very different. It feels very much like Toshiki Inoue, the head writer's classic bag of tricks. If you ever watched anything that Toshiki Inoue's ever done, I know he's done a lot of different animes. He's most known in Tokusatsu for Kamen Rider Faiz, Kamen Rider Kiva, and he did about half of Kamen Rider. I think it was he did the last half of Hibiki. He's done a lot of stuff. He's known for his twists. He's very Shyamalan-esque, except very competent. Very competent. I love when he does stuff for Tokusatsu. If you want a Sentai show that's about character development and all that, Dawn Brothers is fantastic for that. It's very light on the fan service, which might turn some people off because it's advertised like with the Legend Sentai stuff, but very, very fun. Very entertaining show. I've actually, over this year, and I'm not going to talk about it here much because it's not 2022, it's 2023, but I've been watching the season before, Zenkaiger, and it's very interesting how different the two shows are in terms of how they handle basically everything about their structure. I also been watching, I went back 20 years and been watching Hurricaneger, the 26th Super Sentai season, adapted in the West as Power Rangers Ninja Storm. That's a pretty fun show as well. Very different in style, but another show that's really good about its characters and growth, and actually having compelling evil rangers with the Go-Rangers, the Crimson and Navy colored rangers. Those guys are bosses. So I look forward to checking out more of that, and seeing the team up that they're gonna do, which I didn't even know they were doing a team up when I decided I was gonna watch Hurricaneger. It's just a matter of, it's just what they're doing now. In terms of the last of things that I guess I didn't finish, I watched the first season of Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, and it's one of those shows I only would have watched because I had free time. Since I now don't have as much time, still have time, but I don't have as much time. I'm not going to devote more time of my life to watching the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I thought it was decent. It's the best Terminator 2 follow-up, which isn't saying a lot. That's a really low bar. It was good. Good is about as high as I can rate it, though. It's very cheesy. It's very nostalgic to an era of television and shows I don't like. Super hyper editing, really cringy, tough guys, very machismo. But I don't know, it has a good versions of the characters. If you like how the characters are done, you'll enjoy. If you like John Connor and Sarah Connor's characters, this feels like a good enough succession. I might never watch season 2 though, because they fucking ruined John Connor's hair. They give him some shitty buzz cut. They get rid of his beautiful locks. And that's just a crime. As for even more disappointing television, following up from things that have had a bad rack of sequels, I watched The Santa Clauses on Disney Plus. That show just makes me sad. I do want to talk about that in more detail. So maybe I'll do something about that. Maybe I'll do something when the second season comes around. And maybe I'll watch the second season, but I'm really not in the mood to. That shit put me in a bad mood. And a Christmas movie, a Christmas special of anything, making you feel like shit afterwards is not a good sign. It's like the antithesis to the holiday. So that shit put me in a bad mood. And I guess the final thing I have anything to say about before I close out, let's talk about our old pal. Maybe I'll tie this in narratively. Let's pretend I planned to talk about this one last. So I decided on a whim on Christmas Day I was going to rewatch 1989's The Wizard, starring Fred Savage and Christian Slater and Beau Bridges. Damn, that was a star-studded cast. As they remake Rain Man, but for 8-year-olds, where the little boy Jimmy is the pro gamer. He's very shy, very antisocial, but he has this one talent. He has a skill of playing video games, and through discovering that, people start to see that he has this talent, he has this gift for this very irrelevant thing that isn't important in the real world, but to him it is, and it's something that he's good at, something he's talented at, and he takes his skills all the way out to California, and he manages to win the video game tournament. He plays Super Mario Brothers 3 on this huge stage for everyone to see, and I'm kind of hoping that's gonna do the same for me, but with this channel and also on my main channel, I've been cooking for a while. I got a big project that's coming out next year that I haven't talked about on this channel before, and I just figured the Wizard would be a good enough segue, sort of talking about small town, trying to make myself big, trying to make this one moment count for my own life next year.
Yep.
Because I've got a big ass project I'm working on, which there's no reason to not talk about it. I already have a trailer up on my other channel. Is that I'm planning a huge video essay going over Power Rangers Megaforce. It is going to be for the next 2 years, basically. I'm committed to working on this project because it is going to be that long. I've been cooking this thing since March of 2022 is when I decided I was going to do this. So I'm hoping, much like Jimmy, maybe I can find something, because ever since I started doing that project, not to get too real with you guys, I was basically doing this project really gave me a sense of purpose and a sense of sort of meaning that I felt was missing in my life, and that helped motivate us to do this channel as well, because we had been talking for years about doing a podcast, and it just never came together. But me working on my project, and obviously it's not like I was the only one who had some character growth over the year to motivate to do this channel, but doing that really helped motivate me to come out here and do this. Also, I just realized my voice has been a little bit more hoarse, but we've been talking for like 2.5 hours, so my apologies if I sound a little lower than I did earlier. But yeah, I'm just really excited to get this project out the door and to continue to do that, because I would love to do this. I would love to do this for my living, and I hope that you guys will stick along the ride with us, and I hope that you guys will support us and let us do this. We would love to sit and talk with you guys about games and movies and all kinds of shit all day.
Yeah, we've got big plans going ahead for 2020.
Yeah, we have a lot planned. And hopefully we can find our own little slice of California, much like Jimmy did at the end of The Wizard. And, just have that sense of togetherness and be a little family all going into a giant amusement park dinosaur. For this upcoming year, we have a lot of things that are in the pipeline. Do you want to talk about any of those, Joe? We don't have to hard confirm anything, but what kind of stuff do we want to sort of talk about that we're doing this year, if any?
Alright, so I have a few smaller like video essay style videos that are going to be hopefully dropping intermittently throughout the year.
We have more video essays coming, we have more tier lists coming, we want to do more experimental kind of videos like that. I'd like to start doing a little bit more live content with you guys. That's going to be really tough with our schedules, but there's some content that I want to do with you guys involved with it, so you can watch us. We did the Video Game Awards, but that was a bit of a weird circumstance where we couldn't upload that to the correct channel live, and it was a huge miss.
Yeah, some group activities, probably gonna...
Yeah. We want to get some more people involved for certain one-off projects.
Yeah. Like, design discussions, yeah, no, I've got some... Yeah, no, I've got some big ideas.
We got a lot cooking, we got a lot of stuff we want to talk about. There's a lot of subjects that we haven't hit yet. So we hope you guys will continue on the journey with us. I mean, look, let's be fair, absolutely no one's listening this far into the video, but for anyone who actually is, thank you guys. for the last year. Sure, we weren't working on it for the whole year, but we are here. We've been doing this for a couple months now, and I think we're starting to really come on to something really special here with you guys. And we hope you'll join us for the ride. It's gonna be, I'm kind of just rambling at this point, going in circles with it, but yeah, I hope you guys will stick around. We want to keep doing this with you guys. And tell us if anything that we talked about in this big old discussion today, if there's anything you want us to talk about in more detail, any particular shows you want us to hear our opinions on, any games you want us to talk about. I know we've talked about quite a few of them here that we're planning on doing full videos for throughout 2023. So, but if there's something you specifically want us to talk about, or even if we didn't mention it, but just something that you'd be interested in our opinions on, maybe we can make a quick, shorter podcast episode about,
So until next time, I'll see you back at the table.
Yeah, we'll ring in the new year. Have a good one, guys.